Hi everyone, how's it going? It is Tim Brown, and I'm here with another episode of Monday Morning Marketing and Coffee. Come on in. This morning, I'm going to be talking to people about two of the best business books that I read in 2018. These are my two favorite books. I read 30, and I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm like kind of, I've read a lot of books that I thought were not extremely valuable, to be honest, in my life. But you read the not very good ones to get to the good ones, right? And, a wise person that I've heard once said, you're just looking for those one or two things that are going to change your life. You're looking for those one or two things that are going to energize you for the next week. And it doesn't necessarily, the whole book doesn't need to be fire, but I'm going to go through these two books that I thought were absolutely amazing this year. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is Traction. So Traction is apparently used by a lot of small businesses. And I didn't really know, but it's Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business by Gino Wickman. And Traction is like a framework. So there's actually there's like a framework within it called EOS, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And now that I've read this book and I've started to implement it in our business, I keep on like talking to random small businesses and them being like, oh, you're on Traction. Oh, you're on Traction. So there's a lot of small businesses using this book and using this EOS framework. So that's not necessarily in and of itself enough social credence for you to go out and try it if you're part of a small business. But in my experience, implementing this, the beginning of it has been really powerful. So I'm going to tell you kind of some of the basic concepts of it. Traction, the EOS framework has essentially a grading system for your business. There's like 20 criteria that you're supposed to go through, and that experience clarifies things. So one of them is just that everyone has understands the vision and is pushing in the direction of that vision. Everyone in the organization has a number. There's weekly and quarterly goals, things like that. So I've talked to other business owners recently, and them talking about how their company doesn't have quarterly and weekly goals for each of the people in their organization. And it's relatively new for us because of this book. But having those quarterly and weekly goals for everybody in your organization, and to have a clear mission and vision. I think that some of these things are like, yeah, people know. You know that your company needs to have a vision, but are you aware that it would be more effective if you have the vision in writing and you're constantly talking about it within the company? And do you know that it would also be useful for you to have these core values and to be constantly bringing those up too? So this book kind of clarified a lot of that for me, just having mission, vision, and values kind of all very clear. And, when I was working for another company, I did not realize how important this stuff is. But when you're kind of running your own company, you're like, well, I want everyone to be on the same page, and I want everyone to be pushing in the same direction. The whole idea of Traction as a book is that, yes, you might have really talented people. Yes, you might be talented. It's interesting to think, though, that some people and the organization might not have clarity around that. So you need to help people in your organization all have clarity around the mission, the vision, and the values, and how those play out. So we talk about them every single Monday morning meeting, and we have them as part of the criteria that we're judging the quality of people's performance on, and things like that. So it's just an interesting kind of pivot, and definitely not something I appreciated as much when I was just an employee, but it's been a huge book for me. Definitely check out Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business by Gino Wickman. Especially if you're helping run a small business or, small to mid-sized business. So that's number one. Number two, I try to be animated on these videos because if you're scrolling by, I'm like, hey, come in here. Come in here. I like to think that somebody's scrolling by on Facebook and then they just see me doing this. Okay, so the second book, biggest, most amazing book for my mindset this past year has been Profit First. And Profit First is a kind of a nitty-gritty book, but I remember at the beginning of this year, I thought to myself, I have a business, this is fine, but it'd be really cool if it had some more significant profit. Because if you're doing a small business, it hurts sometimes when you're working your butt off or whatever, and you feel like it's not bleeding any profit or whatever. And I also had this mindset, back in the day when I first started, because I don't know if you guys have ever heard kind of Amazon's strategy on profit, but it was like, we don't need profit for the first 20 years because we're just getting market share. We just need market share, and as long as we get market share, then we'll be good. And that works for Amazon and giant companies, but it doesn't really work for small businesses, and it's not really a great way to run a small business. So the beginning of this year, I said to myself, I would like to be more profitable. I would like to have a company that's healthy, and a healthy company creates profit. So Profit First is a really practical kind of guidance system for making that part of your everyday habits. And I'll kind of go into some of the nitty-gritty of the thing here in a second about how that's done. But first, I'm going to kind of give the overview. The overview is the guy's a small business consultant. He has a bunch of other great books out there. One of them is called The Pumpkin Plan, which is about kind of growing your best clients and really focusing on your best clients. So the book Profit First, though, talks you through exactly how you'd want to do this. He also talks about what's an appropriate amount of profit for small business and those types of things, what's healthy, that kind of thing. So now that I've given the overview, Profit First has a system where you actually create new checking accounts in your business's account, let's say whatever bank you're a part of. You create different checking accounts for, let's say, operating expense, taxes, and your owner's draw and your profit and your income. And then it all comes through the income account, and you disperse it out to the other accounts so that you take profit first, and then you base your business off of that. And part of the thing is that you actually name the accounts, the percentage that you're currently putting in for it, and the target allocated percentage. So it's a really clean and easy way to do it kind of quickly without actually thinking that much about it when you do it, because the names of the accounts the numbers are all in there. And when you first start this and you look at what you're putting into operating expense, it's usually going to be higher than you want it to be, because your business is kind of bloated and it's spending a lot of money. And you look at that operating expense and you say, I'm not going to change it wildly right now. I want it to be healthy and I want it to be slow, but I'm going to take 3% out of that every single time and put it into the other accounts. So the profit, the owner's draw, the tax account, the profit account, etc. And so every quarter, you slowly adjust your allocated percentages. So that might be a little deep for some people here, but I have no idea where you're at with your business. But if you're a small business, profit is important. And profit is something that you need to build into the business for it to be healthy. And the other major concept that Profit First kind of talked through for me, this is my second best, not, it's really great book. One of the two best books I read this year. Profit First. One of the major things that it taught me was that, like, if you have these separate accounts and your operating expense has gone down 3% just in that quarter, you have to, it's like a tube of toothpaste. So if you had a travel size tube of toothpaste, and you could make it work for a month. But if you have that giant tube of toothpaste and you're just, you're just spreading it out onto the toothbrush, you can use it very quickly accidentally. Like, so that's the thing with the operating expense. If you tighten it up a little bit, but you figure it out. You figure out how to build your business with a little bit less operating expense. And you can still keep it very healthy. And it's powerful. It's powerful when you're able to just pull the operating expense down a little bit, increase the profit, increase the other things. And the other thing, it talks about is, as a small business and a small to mid-sized business, you really do have to pay yourself well, especially if you're you're working your butt off. On average, I work 60 hours a week or whatever. So you want to treat yourself and your small business. You got to do it in a healthy way, in a way that's appropriate and not wasteful. But you want that person that's your absolute best employee. And a lot of times that's you as a small business. You want to treat them well. So recognizing that you wouldn't keep doing it for 20 years if you're not being paid well, and if you're not figuring out how to, create that healthy owner's draw, that paying your best employee well, and that transfers to the other best employees too. But it's definitely an interesting book. So those were amazing books. Profit First, I'm trying it out, and I won't say that I've done it for that long, but I'm trying it out and seeing how that works. And I'm also really heavy into the implementation of Traction. And Traction, it's weird because, like I said, all these other small businesses that I've talked to are using Traction. And it seems to be a good thing for them. It's kind of a light framework. It's a framework for your business that's kind of, it's very specific, and it gets into the nitty gritty, but it's not heavy, and it doesn't feel kind of like bloated or anything like that. It's a very light framework, like an exoskeleton or something. It's super useful, like I said, and it's just interesting to see a lot of other people doing that. So if you guys have read Traction or the book Profit First, I'd love to hear your comments below. And maybe, on Facebook, if you're watching this, maybe just if you're planning on trying one of those books, at my suggestion, I'd love it if you commented too. And I really appreciate you guys joining me. And if you want to watch the rest of this video, if you can watch the rest of this video on Instagram, because I'm about to share it. But if you want to comment on the video, check us out at facebook.com/hookagency if you're on Instagram. And looking forward to talking with you guys. Is next week Christmas? Yeah, so I'm probably not going to be, or Christmas Eve, so I'm probably not going to be doing a Monday morning marketing video. And then the next week is New Year's Eve. So I might skip that one too, or I might be so gung-ho about my goals for 2019 that I'll want to do a Monday morning marketing video. But I'm very excited about this next year, and I'm getting ready with goal setting, and I hope you guys are doing that too. We have a podcast coming out this week about goal setting for 2019, why it's important to set giant goals that maybe even intimidate you, because giant goals and saying to yourself, it might be a giant scary goal, but how might I accomplish that? Double your goal and say to yourself, if I was to accomplish this, what would have I done? But anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me for this Monday morning marketing and coffee video, and do a little bit more of what you love this week. And see you later. Bye.